Welcome to this week's AI Deep Dive, where we, try to cut through all the noise and figure out what really matters.
Yeah, it's like we're panning for gold, sifting through all the AI news to find those little nuggets of, you know, real insight.
Exactly. And this week, let me tell you, the river's overflowing. We're going to start with something that's always on everyone's minds, how to get that AI processing power without, breaking the bank.
It's the never-ending quest, right? Well, we've been seeing some buzz about MI60 GPUs popping up for around like $300.
Okay, wait, $300, that's what, like RTX 3060 territory?
Pretty much. But here's the kicker. Some people are saying these things could give 3090s and even 4090s a run for their money.
Whoa. Seriously. So what's the catch? It can't be that easy, can it?
You know it can't. The hardware seems solid, but the software, that's a different story. Compatibility is a bit of a crapshoot right now.
So it's like a gamble.
Mm-hmm.
What does that even mean for someone who's like thinking about taking the plunge? Should they or?
Yeah, it's all about your appetite for risk, right? If
Mhm.
you're willing to tinker, experiment, get your hands dirty, figuring out workarounds, then maybe, yeah, the potential's huge. Like, we've seen people getting amazing results running llama.cpp with flash attention on ROCm. That's a mouthful, but it means there are ways to break free from the usual software suspects.
Right, right. It's like that tip we saw about compiling ROCm specifically for MI60s. Sounds like gibberish to most, but for someone pulling their hair out trying to get those budget GPUs to cooperate, it's a godsend.
Exactly. And that's the beauty of these AI communities, you know? Always someone out there who's encountered the same problem, found a solution, and is willing to share it with the world.
It's like a global network of AI troubleshooters all on speed dial.
Exactly. But even with the best hardware and software, some people are still hitting a wall with, well, GPU underutilization.
Ugh, yeah, the worst. It's like having a Ferrari but only ever driving it in first gear.
Right. You've got all this power just sitting there, but you can't seem to unlock it. It's a head scratcher. IO bottlenecks, power management weirdness, it's different for everyone.
So, back to the AI community for the rescue, I guess.
Pretty much. They're the collective brain trust, figuring out the whys and hows of getting the most out of your setup.
Speaking of figuring things out, let's shift gears to something a little, shall we say, more ethically complex.
Oh boy. Yeah. This week, it's OpenAI's turn under the microscope.
Right. Seems they found themselves in a bit of hot water. Accusations of, shall we say, borrowing a little too liberally.
To put it mildly, developer Kai Gomez, they've been pretty vocal about OpenAI allegedly lifting code from their Swarms framework.
Okay, so for those of us who don't speak fluent AI jargon, what exactly is this Swarms framework, and why is everyone so riled up about it?
So Gomez's framework, it basically tackles this big challenge in AI, how to get multiple AI agents to work together effectively. Think of it like a team of specialized bots all working towards a shared goal.
Okay, I'm picturing like a super coordinated team of AI ants all working together to, I don't know, build an anthill or something.
Right. It's got huge potential, especially in areas like swarm robotics. But the problem is, Gomez is saying OpenAI didn't just take inspiration, they straight up copied their work, like the code itself, the name, the whole 9 yards.
Ooh, yeah, that's not a good look. And this Gomez, they haven't been shy about calling him out, have they?
Nope. Even hinted at possible legal action if OpenAI doesn't address it. This whole thing really throws gasoline on the fire of that whole open source versus big tech debate.
Right, like on one hand, you've got this ethos of sharing, of open collaboration, and on the other, it's all about, well, profits and protecting your turf.
In this case, it really throws a wrench into that dynamic and makes you question, like, what are the rules here? How do we protect intellectual property while still encouraging innovation? Big questions with no easy answers.
It's a lot to unpack for sure.
Hmm.
And as if that wasn't enough drama for one week, there's this video making the rounds. Apple drops AI bombshell. LLMs cannot reason.
Yeah, that one's got everyone talking. It's about the limits of large language models. Basically, it argues that despite all the hype, these things aren't actually capable of real human-like reasoning.
So no Skynet anytime soon.
Not quite. And, they're right. LLMs are powerful tools, but they're not some kind of super intelligence. They make mistakes, they can be fooled, their thinking is fundamentally different from ours.
It's a good reminder that we're still in the early stages of this whole AI thing, and a healthy dose of skepticism never hurt anyone.
Absolutely. Excitement's great, but critical thinking is crucial. Always question, always be learning, and never be afraid to, poke at the edges and see what you find.
So we've talked affordable hardware, ethical dilemmas. It's been a whirlwind already. What else has the AI world thrown at us this week?
Well, on a lighter note, the world of LLMs keeps evolving at, warp speed. New models are popping up left and right, each with its own strengths and quirks.
It's like trying to choose a favorite child, right?
Yeah.
But speaking of favorites, what are some of the names that have caught your eye this week? You mentioned Llama 3.2. What else is making waves?
One that's been really impressive, especially for coding, is Claude.
Claude, right. I've heard some buzz. What makes it so good for, like, the whole coding scene?
It's got this uncanny ability to really understand code, generate it accurately, and follow instructions. That's pretty essential if you're relying on it to help you build something.
Makes sense. It's fascinating how each LLM seems to have its own specialty. Llama 3.2 for creative stuff, Claude for code. Are we heading towards an LLM for, like, everything?
It's starting to feel that way.
Yeah.
And then you've got Grok 2, which is getting a lot of attention for its reasoning and information retrieval capabilities.
So it's like the Sherlock Holmes of LLMs, able to deduce answers from the tiniest clues.
That's a great way to put it. It's still early days, but people are really excited about its potential for complex queries and, that multi-step reasoning stuff.
Of course, we can't forget about the elephant in the room, or maybe it's more like the ghost in the machine, trying to recreate the magic of OpenAI's o1.
Right. Everyone's chasing that dragon. And it's a tough one to crack. The architecture, the sheer amount of data it was trained on, it's a beast.
It's like trying to bake a cake after only glimpsing the ingredients list, you know. But speaking of baking, there's this whole journey learning thing that's popped up. What's that all about?
So journey learning, it uses search and learning algorithms to basically supercharge the mathematical reasoning of LLMs. Researchers have actually managed to get an 8% performance boost on tasks similar to what O1 can do, and they did it with way less training data.
Wow, talk about efficiency. That sounds promising. It's like finding a shortcut on a really complicated recipe.
Exactly. And it could be a game changer for folks trying to, either replicate or maybe even surpass what O1 can do. It's definitely one to watch.
Speaking of watching, OpenAI's had quite the week, haven't they? Between the code swiping accusations and all these open source projects gunning for them, it's like they're playing both hero and villain in this whole AI saga.
It's true. And it just goes to show that even the big players, they're still figuring things out as they go. There's no rule book for this stuff, no guaranteed right answers.
It's uncharted territory for everyone, but, that's part of what makes it so exciting, right? So, zooming out for a second, looking at all of this, tell us about the bigger picture of AI. Where are we headed?
This week's been a microcosm of the whole thing. Really crazy fast progress, unexpected bumps in the road, and this constant tension between open collaboration and cutthroat competition.
Right, that whole open source versus closed off proprietary world. It's a battle for the soul of AI, in a way.
And which way it swings will have huge implications, right? Will AI be controlled by a few giant corporations, or will it be this more democratic, community-driven thing? It's the million-dollar question, and we're watching it unfold in real time.
Speaking of millions of dollars, what's with all these startups founded by, former OpenAI employees? It's like everyone's jumping ship to go build their own AI empires.
It's fascinating, isn't it? I think it speaks to this desire for more creative control, maybe a bit of that entrepreneurial spirit, and maybe, just maybe, a sense of responsibility to do AI differently, especially when it comes to ethics.
It's like they're taking what they learned, the good and the bad, and trying to build something new, something better.
Precisely. And it'll be interesting to see where they go with it. Will they shake things up, disrupt the status quo, or just become part of the establishment? Only time will tell.
It makes you wonder what those future AI empires will be built on. Speaking of building, have you heard about that project using the game, what's it called, Terraria, to build neural networks?
Terraria, yeah, that's a new one. Using a game as an AI testing ground. It's certainly creative.
Yeah, it's like they're turning a virtual world into a living laboratory for AI.
That's a cool way to think about it. It just shows you the ingenuity out there. Always pushing the limits, finding new ways to explore what AI can do.
That's what makes it so exciting, right? Never a dull moment in the world of AI.
Never. And I think it's important to remember, as we're diving into all these developments, that we're not just, along for the ride.
Right, we're not just spectators, but how can we, as individuals, actually shape the future of AI? Feels so big sometimes.
It starts with, staying informed, engaging in these conversations about ethics, supporting open source projects. Every little bit helps.
It's a team effort, right? Speaking of which, that brings us back to something we've been circling all week, the power of community.
Definitely. Whether it's sharing code, debating those ethical gray areas, or even just, like you said, experimenting with AI in a video game, collaboration is key.
At the end of the day, this whole AI thing, it's a human story, isn't it? It's about us.
Absolutely. Our hopes, our fears, what we want the future to look like. It's about making sure AI benefits everyone, not just a select few.
Well said. So, as we wrap up this week's deep dive, one big question remains. What does the future hold for, like, community-driven AI? Especially with all the challenges we've talked about.
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? And honestly, I don't have a crystal ball.
Yeah.
But seeing the passion, the ingenuity, the sheer determination of the people in this field, it gives me hope.
It's inspiring, for sure. And even amidst all the uncertainty, the controversies, there's this, like, contagious sense of wonder.
Totally. There's so much more to discover, and we're all on this journey together.
And on that note, we'll wrap up this AI deep dive. We've covered a lot of ground-affordable hardware, ethical quandaries, the open source movement, and as always, we're left with more questions than answers. But that's part of the fun, right?
It keeps us coming back for more. The unknown is a powerful motivator.
Absolutely. So until next week, keep exploring, keep questioning, keep diving deep into the fascinating world of AI.
And keep that curiosity alive.